news and events COVID-19 on June 10. Note, this is a collaborative video made between Travel for All fanpage and Knowledge of Coronavirus channel. This video is copyrighted by Travel for All fanpage and Knowledge of Coronavirus channel. Please respectfully welcome everyone. The following is the remarkable news most on June 10 as follows. 1. American news. The U.S. Senate on Tuesday agreed on the appointment of General Charles Brown Jr. The position of U.S. Air Force Chief of Staff marks the first time in history that an African-American officer has become the Chief of Staff of one of the country's 6 major Army units. American Airlines says it will activate more than 140 planes that have been in storage due to the coronavirus pandemic. U.S. consumer prices fall in May as economy begins to reopen. Although lockdown measures eased across the country, consumers kept their wallets closed, keeping prices low. The Consumer Price Index declined 0.1% in May on a seasonally adjusted basis, the Bureau of Labor Statistics of U.S. reported Wednesday. Major League Soccer will resume its suspended season on July 8 with a league-wide tournament in Orlando at Disney World's ESPN Wide World of Sports complex, the league announced today. MLS suspended its season on March 12 due to the coronavirus outbreak. July 8 will be exactly 4 months since the last MLS match was played on March 8. GOP members on the House of Representatives Committee on Tuesday warned President Donald Trump not to withdraw U.S. troops from Germany. In a letter, 22 lawmakers led by Senator Mac Thornberry, Republican representative from Texas, argued that reducing and limiting the number of troops in Europe would undermine NATO alliance and promote escalating actions from Russia. 2. Coronavirus update news in the world. As of 6 a.m. on June 10, the world recorded 7,310,931 cases of COVID-19 acute respiratory infections, including 412,990 deaths and 3,594,044 recovering patients. The United States is still the country most heavily affected by the COVID-19 epidemic, with a number of cases rising to 2,044,822, including 114,130 deaths and 738,807 recovering. Behind the United States is Brazil, with 742,084 cases of COVID-19, an increase of 31,197 cases in the past 24 hours, the second time recording a record number of cases over 31,000 after a week of first record. To date, Brazil has also recorded 38,497 deaths due to COVID-19 and 325,602 people recovered. 3. Brazilian news. On June 9, the Federal Supreme Court (STF) of Brazil ruled that the Ministry of Health would resume the daily publication of all data related to the COVID-19 pandemic after receiving it. Asked a review from a number of opposition parties regarding changes in statistics and the number of COVID-19 cases and deaths that the Brazilian government applied from June 4. Due to the fierce criticism of domestic public opinion in recent days regarding the information on disease situation, the Brazilian government has also been forced to return to the way the disease data was published as before, in which this includes information on the total number of new cases, the number of new cases, and the evening golden hour announcement. 4. Saudi Arabia news. Saudi Arabia recorded 3,717 new coronavirus cases and 36 new deaths, the country's health ministry said today, the highest daily number of infections, according to government statistics. The kingdom has been recording more than 3,000 cases for the past 4 days, pushing the total number of coronavirus infections in the country to at least 112,288. At least 819 people have died, the ministry added. 5. Peru news. In Peru, June 9, the Ministry of Health announced that the number of COVID-19 cases had increased to 203,736 people, including 5,738 deaths, an increase of 4,040 cases and 167 deaths in the past 24 hours. The first case of COVID-19 was discovered in Peru on March 6 and the South American nation recorded 100,000 cases on May 20. Peru is now ranked 8th in the world for the number of cases and the highest. 2. In Latin America. The Peruvian government is trying to control the COVID-19 epidemic by announcing an extension of the National Social Exclusion Order until June 30 and extending a medical emergency to September 7 to ensure continued implementation of anti-epidemic measures. 6. Indian news. In India, on June 9, officials from the Delhi metropolitan area warned that the number of 19 COVID cases in the region could increase 20 times to 500,000 in the next few weeks. India is easing blockade measures across the country to minimize economic losses due to the impact of the pandemic, but in fact the disease is still spreading. To date, the second most populous country in the world has reported 276,146 cases, ranking 5th in the world. Over the past 24 hours, India recorded more than 10,000 new cases, of which the most densely populated areas such as Mumbai and Delhi were hardest hit. 7. Vietnam news. Vietnam has not reported 55 cases of infection in the community for 55 days. Up to now, Vietnam has 332 people infected with COVID-19, of which 317 patients have been declared cured. The remaining 15 patients are being treated at health facilities across the country, of which 6 have had negative HIV test results from 1 or more COVID-19. 8. Thai news. In Thailand, the government is considering easing entry restrictions for foreign visitors, probably in the 3rd or 4th quarter of this year, and with priority given to people from areas where COVID is no longer affected. -19, a move to restart the tourism industry. The situation worsened in March 2020 when the Thai government imposed travel restrictions to control the spread of the disease. Southeast Asia's second largest economy fell 1.8% in the first quarter of 2020, the deepest decline since the fourth quarter of 2011 when affected by floods. Although Thailand is gradually preparing to reopen for international flights, however, it is possible that Thailand has not yet lifted its emergency situation later this month. Deputy Prime Minister Wisnu Kringam recently said that the government's decision to remove or prolong the emergency mainly depends on the number of new cases. According to Mr. Wisnu, the current situation is acceptable and the government can further relax restrictions in Phase 4. 9. Iran news. In Iran on June 9, a health official estimated that about 1/5 of the population, or 18.75%, may have been infected by the virus since the outbreak began in February. Reported 8,425 deaths and 175,927 infections. In the past 24 hours, 74 more deaths and more than 2,000 new cases have been recorded in the country. 10. Indonesia news. The Indonesian Ministry of Health on June 9 announced that it had recorded 1,043 more cases of COVID-19. This is the day with the highest number of people with COVID-19 ever. Thus, up to now, Indonesia has recorded a total of 33,076 cases of COVID-19, including 1,923 deaths. The Southeast Asian country has also conducted 286,650 tests to detect COVID-19. 11. French news. On June 9, French Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire said the government would provide a €15 billion, $16.9 billion bailout package to help the aviation industry recover from the COVID-19 epidemic crisis. Speaking at the press conference, Minister Le Maire said the aviation emergency rescue plan includes an investment fund with a starting amount of €500 million and will increase to €1 billion to accelerate the development. Mid-range suppliers and another €300 million in aid to assist subcontractors in the aviation industry to modernize the plant. France also invested €1.5 billion, about $1.7 billion in 3 years to support research on new environmentally friendly aviation technology, of which €300 million will be dispersed this year. Of the €15 billion, €7 billion relief aid for Air France KLM was announced earlier. 12. Russian news. People in the capital Moscow, Russia, resumed normal operations on June 9 when the closure order was applied to curb the spread of COVID-19 was lifted after more than 2 months despite local authorities still report more than 1,000 new cases every day. Nearly 13 million people in Moscow are now free to leave their homes if they want to use public transport and travel in the city with unrestricted private cars or electronic licenses. 13. Singapore news. The Singaporean government is pushing for a gradual relaxation of restrictive measures, which still requires many people to continue working at home and only to communicate with family members. Last week, Singapore reopened its schools and some businesses after nearly 2 months of imposing blockades. Singapore is the country with the highest number of COVID infections in Southeast Asia, with more than 38,000 cases of illness due to a strong outbreak in housing quarters for migrant workers. Our newsletter is now over. Thank you for always watching and supporting our videos. Knowledge of coronavirus, channel and travel for all fantas respectfully, and see you in the next video.